In this video demonstration, I'm going to show you how you can use elements of the Smart Notebook software to teach a traditional poem, and this one's called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Now, this is a text-heavy notebook, requires a lot of discussion and also interactive activity with students coming up and manipulating elements of the text. I would view this page with the screen shade to start off with. I did this with my year 3s and dragged it down for the first sentence. We read the sentence and we said, what words don't we understand? And of course, it was published anonymously. And we actually looked at the date of the paper, and then when it was reprinted, and no name attached. Then we actually scrolled down and looked at the author of the poem. And the student said, okay, well, you've got some dates inside the brackets. What are they? And so we spoke about those being the birth of the person and the death. And then they used the maths, and on the smartboard we worked out how old the author was when the author actually died. So the original poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, was later changed and became famous, called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Then what we did is we followed the web link and read the poem online. Now this is interesting, we've done poetry. When I first brought this up, the student said, that doesn't look like a poem. And I said, well, why not? And they said, well, you haven't got the verses and you haven't got the lines and so forth. So it was a good indication of their understanding of poetry. Students took it in turns to read parts of the text, and it required no photocopying, no typing up of it. It's just accessing it free from an online site. We then viewed a YouTube clip. This actually helps students, especially the ESL students, to visualise elements of the poem. Because it was written many years ago, a lot of the words were unfamiliar to our ESL students. So you can either click here, I've already got it open. Here is a sample of what the students viewed.
All through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
So this is actually extremely good for the ESL students to get a visual, an idea of what was behind the poem. On this next page here, I then viewed it in full screen. And you can see here the students actually said, oh, this is actually starting to look like a poem, because they could actually identify the different verses. With this one here, we use dragging words from a text. So if you get students to double click quickly on a text, it actually forms this barrier around here. If a student clicks slowly, it appears like that, and when they go to move it, they move the whole text rather than highlighting an individual word. So you teach them 2 quick taps, and then, oops, there's a mistake here. And then students drag the nouns, verbs and adjectives. Okay, so we might have beds. Students drag. As they drag it down, you notice the word doesn't follow, but it does appear there. So the thing to tell the students is it's a quick double tap and select the word, then touch and drag, and the word will be dragged from the text to sort. Again, we use the same method here. We're looking at words that rhyme. You can see here that you can identify you've got platter and matter, flash and sash, whereas the previous website had the poem written as a vertical text and you couldn't actually discriminate it as a poem. So here, quick double highlight to drag it across, double, and students are able to drag out words that rhyme. With this part here, students read the text and we said, well, how many reindeers are there? There are actually 8, and who was missing? Well, the reindeer that's missing is the most famous one, which is Rudolph. It's a teacher's personal choice if they choose to extend this further using the pull tab from the side. I introduced Rudolph as the person who wrote this poem at the time, 180 odd years ago. Didn't have Rudolph within their poem. That's why Rudolph doesn't appear within the poem that they're reading. This next one here, we looked at the text again. We looked at similes and alliteration. So, for example, his nose like a cherry. We could drag down to alliteration. Simile, like roses. And these are all text features which you've looked at through the term and just combining together at the end of the year for a Christmas unit. And again, the same principle here, looking at similes and alliteration. For example, like a bowl full of jelly. Drag it down for a simile. This is the last verse of it. Then we can actually ask the students to view the poem online. There's a YouTube link you can click by touching here, or I already have it open. Now, unlike the other one, this YouTube clip has the words that go along with it as well.
"'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
With this one here, again, the students are familiar with the poem now. They've looked at elements of the poem, and you can actually pause it whenever students have a question. Following this, we looked at who is St. Nicholas. There's a brief history of St. Nicholas, and you can, there's a web link to view St. Nicholas, oops, go back, St. Nicholas through the ages. So that's where the information came from. There are other stories about St. Nicholas when he had his 3 daughters with the coal and so forth, which you can explore. We'll also visit images of St. Nicholas through the ages. So students can click on the images and see an image and a description of how St. Nicholas appeared through the ages. Right through, he got to what students are familiar with now, the Father Christmas. Following on from this, you might like to look at Father Christmas in Spain, where you've got the 3 wise men, the American Santa, Netherlands St. Nicholas, in Italy Babushka, and all of them are, the moral or the story behind it is the whole idea of giving and sharing and helping others.